how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How about you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. So, Henrietta, this is John, and I am the host of this event.
Okay.
So, I will introduce you to our audience, and so that we can start the event. Okay?
Yes. My camera is on, actually.
No,
Okay.
yeah.
Uh,
So, can you please turn on your camera? So there will be an icon, video button.
I actually my camera is on. Okay.
So we cannot see your face. Uh,
Okay.
so can you please turn off and turn on again?
Okay, I'll do that. You want
Yeah.
me to log in again?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll be back.
Sure. So let me introduce to our audience first, and so that we can start the session. Okay. Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome the first speaker of this CEST session. So, she is Dr. Henrietta Newton Martin. So, she's a senior lawyer, legal strategist, and award-winning author with nearly 2 decades of experience in corporate governance and legal strategy, intelligence, and emerging technology regulations. So, she has advised organizations on cross-border transactions, regulatory compliances, and CSG and AI governance while contributing actively to legal research and education. So, recognized internationally for her leadership and innovation, she bridges law, business, and technology to shape modern legal frameworks through her practice, research, and thought leadership. And Dr. Martin continues to advance ethical governance and the future of legal profession. So that was a wonderful bio, Dr. Henrietta. So you can start with your session and all the best. Hello, doctor. So you are in mute. So can you please unmute yourself? Message and doctor.
Hello.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Okay. So, once again, greetings, everyone. Thank you, John, for your elaborate introduction. I'm quite happy to be on this platform and share my insights on leadership. I believe that for quite some time, like the topic during this particular conference or virtual summit has been on leadership. This is what I believe. So what I bring to the table is something that is practical on leadership, and where I would really like to talk about leadership that is actually, powered by integrity. So, as you can see on your screen, the topic is the courage to lead. I'm a lawyer, of course, so a woman lawyer's perspective from the courtroom to the boardroom. However, I try to keep it general, where I will, cover everyone, even the other professionals, and of course, and then I'll move forward to talk about how we own our seat at the table through our confidence, influence, and authentic leadership. Can we move on to the next slide? Ms. Varalakshmi? Thank you. So, well, about this session. So, we are going to talk about or basically thump upon the aspect of leading with purpose power, and impact. I'll try my best not to keep this session boring, but I'll talk about my personal life experiences as well. When we talk about leadership, about women, since this is a women's conference, so when we are talking about leadership or leader or women leaders, I would always think about, a mother. We are born into this world, we are brought up by our parents, and a mother plays a very important role. No matter what, there is no training for any mom. There is no training given to a mother how to lead, how to teach her children, how to inculcate those values. So I believe leaders are born and later on they are made. There was someone who said, I remember this is an age old saying which says leaders are born and not made. Miss Varalakshmi, we are still on the second slide. Miss Varalakshmi, the PowerPoint is just moving forward. Can we just stay on the second slide, please? Yes, thank you. There, yet another saying is that if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring your own chair. I'm repeating it again for those probably who have not caught it. If they do not give you a seat at the table, bring your own chair. This is what I have learned over the years. Once upon a time, even I was a person who used to wait to be invited to, to speak um, in boardrooms or during meetings. I used to wait and I just think about presenting the best facts with the solutions. I used to have it all in my head, but I used to wait to be asked. But later on, with my experience, I learned that I need to own my seat at the table. And that's how I feel. If you cannot own the seat at the table, try to bring your own chair. Sometimes the challenge is just not in finding the chair. The challenge is sometimes having the courage to speak up, the courage to, stand up for what you know is right and believe that your voice belongs there. Remember something, there is always in life no right or wrong answers, but there is always some answers. You leave it to the table to decide whether uh, you know, a particular thing that you have spoken or the idea that you have presented is acceptable or not. At the same time, have clarity in your mind and then express your views and your ideas on the table. Have also seen, as I said earlier, I was one of those women. I've also seen, apart from myself, of course, many women walk into the rooms carrying qualifications, experience, expertise, yet still quietly ask themselves, am I ready? And sometimes the biggest barrier to leadership is not the room, it is the conversation that we have with our own selves before we enter it. Today, leadership has really grown into the next level, unlike the earlier years. If you look at the world around you, if you look at the other conferences like the UN conference and all the political conferences that are taking place, you see leaders when they speak, they are different. But today, leaders like you and me talk at a different level, be it boardroom, be it courtroom, be it any academic session, be it in virtual summits like these, or summits like these, or any conference for that matter. So, what is leading with purpose, power, and impact? It begins with us internally, it begins with you. Leadership is not all about titles. That's the reason I gave the example of a mother. It is not always about titles, but it is about doing something. It is beyond titles. I remember the story of Queen Esther, who was really the queen of Persia somewhere around 450 BC to 475. And she was married to the king of Persia, Ahasuerus, King Ahasuerus, who is also known as Xerxes. So this particular woman, she knew when to speak at the right time. She had to protect her people from certain decrees by a man called Haman, and she knew how to present it to the king. So there is a lot to learn from from Queen Esther, the way she presented herself or ideas to the king in a way that her idea was accepted and she could protect her people from certain decrees that was promulgated by a man called Haman from the very same kingdom to whom the king had given certain rights and authorities to promulgate certain decrees. So this is the classic example. You can search who is Esther. She's actually a biblical figure. This is a true story. This was during the reign of King Xerxes of Persia, somewhere in 430 to 476 BC. Esther ruled beyond title. Esther's power impacted her kingdom. Esther was not a woman who wanted a particular place, but her idea was to do good to her people. So, this is what leadership is all about. Even in the corporate field, leadership is about giving. Leadership is not merely standing out, but standing with those who need you. Now, talking about the legal field, leadership for me, as I've learned over the years, is beyond legal expertise. It is building confidence and influence. It's overcoming barriers and self doubt. It is authentic leadership. It is creating opportunities for others around you and even for the future generations. Can we have the next slide? So, as you can see here, I've said leadership is not about waiting to be invited, it is about knowing where you belong. Indeed, it is about knowing that you truly belong to a place. It is a fire within you to create a difference. It is a fire within you to impact all those around you, to impact the world. It is a fire to do good, to stand up with integrity, and to do what is right, to impact the organization you serve. Next slide. So, why courage matters? They say to be a leader takes courage. So, why does courage matter? Because there are certain complex decisions that needs to be taken. There is always this doubts that crop up in our minds whether we can do it or we cannot do it, or whether we should implement it or we shouldn't implement it. There are a plethora of decisions that need to be made, by any professional for that matter, be it a lawyer or any other professional. How do you arrive at concrete decisions that would really bring about an impact that you desire? For that, we need courage. We need the courage to take risks. We need the courage to go against the expectations of those people who are trying sometimes to expect the best outcome out of your decisions, or sometimes who are waiting for you to fail. But our focus is not upon those around you and those external factors, as I call it, but our focus should always be upon our confidence and our courage to take the decision, to implement it, and to stand by the outcome, whatever it may be. Women professionals continue to encounter, now this is just not a cliche, but this is the truth. Sometimes there are gender stereotypes. Sometimes there is limited visibility where they say, will she be able to do it? And sometimes it is our own minds. It is the imposter syndrome, where sometimes we tell ourselves, maybe someone is better than me, or someone's idea is better than my idea. So we need to overcome these obstacles and stand up with courage for whatever we have to, present, or whatever we have to, give to the organization to impact, of course. Next slide. So the question, how do we move from being excellent professionals to influential leaders? Next slide. So I'll give you my example from the courtroom to the boardroom, but I'll try to generalize it with other professionals as well. We're talking about my experience. From my initial years, I started my career as a lawyer practicing before the High Court as well as the district courts, where it did take some courage to stand out. It did take some courage to fight against the odds. It did take some courage to say that what I'm speaking is right with some evidentiary value. So courtroom is just not all about advocacy or presentation of facts. It's also about eliciting evidence and building evidence and proving points beyond all reasonable doubt. We also negotiate, we stand by ethics, we persuade, and we engage in conflict resolutions or problem solving. My transition to the corporate sector, where I had to or rather even now, where I lead certain decisions at the board, or where I give certain solutions to the board. So here, you are an advocate, you advocate something, but at the boardroom, you influence minds. You influence with, you influence with the truth. You influence with the fact. You influence with the confidence that what you're speaking or what you're proposing is really going to meet the expectations of the board. Again, here it takes courage to propose an idea and to take the risk and to wait and watch how it all turns out in the end. Boardroom is about strategy, collaboration, building consensus, governance, and so on. Next slide. Thereby, if you talk about legal practice actually equips professionals with valuable competencies that support leadership. And however, moving from the courtroom to the boardroom requires intentional leadership. This is kind of a key word for this session, intentional leadership. Leaders are born and made, as I said earlier. Someone said in the past, leaders are born and not made. But I would say leaders are born and made. There is the quality of a leader in a particular person. They grew up with that quality and they master that quality and they tailor it to the situation. So sometimes you need intentional leadership, confidence, authenticity, and the courage to influence meaningful change. As I gave the example of Queen Esther, she brought about a meaningful change for her people. Queen Esther stood up with confidence. She never shunned from her duty. She never had the idea of being popular. That is important. She didn't want to be popular. So you see, the reason behind what you do also makes a difference. If there are hidden agendas, a leader may, I'm not saying will not, may not be able to shine. But if you stand for what you do and it is for common good, then you're a leader, whether you have a title or not. Likewise, any profession, one may belong to leadership itself, or it requires intentional development. That means there is a desire to lead. The quality is developed intentionally through confidence, continuous learning, strategic influence, and authentic engagement. Learning, continuous learning, can never be done away with. Next slide. There has to be an ounce of authenticity. Authenticity, practicality, reality. And what is authentic leadership? Authentic leadership is something that comes naturally to a person. Authentic leadership is not about yourself or myself. Authentic leadership is all about the people you intend to lead. Authentic leadership brings about good. Authentic leadership is just not about titles. Authentic leadership meets humility somewhere. You lead with integrity and purpose. You influence. You create a leadership formula. And that formula for me would be confidence, competence, and character. Character, which includes integrity. You say what you mean, and you mean what you say. You do what you say, and you say what you do. That is leadership for me. That is credible leadership. So this is like a formula. The 3 C's: confidence, competence, that is already a part of you. Some people say that competence is not required, you need some training. Of course, all of us need training. But without building competence, one cannot be a leader. Competence is inculcated at the right time, and competence is built. It is something within you. You nurture it, you sharpen it. Competence is like a tool. Confidence is something that you put on like your clothes. Competence is within, and character is part of you. That's credible leadership. Next slide. Can we move to the next slide, please? Thank you. So the 3 pillars of courageous leadership is confidence, authenticity, and influence. So confidence is where you believe in your expertise. You may fail at times. You may fail, but you own up to your decisions. And you believe in your decisions. Even if it fails, You believe in your decision, you come up with solutions, and you say, that probably it has failed now, but I know out of this, I'm going to bring up something worthwhile. It may be in the organization you serve, it may be in your families. A parent is a leader, the older sibling is a leader. We are actually accompanied by leaders all around us. We are accompanied by people who lead even without titles. Authenticity, the next pillar, lead with integrity and purpose. Purpose is always for common good. Leadership is not about yourself, it's about others. That's a true leader. You impact, you create a difference, you influence, the third pillar. You create a positive change through your voice. Voice just doesn't mean through your real vocal cords. It could be through the power of your pen, your writing, your work. The next slide. Can we move further, please? So, my leadership mantra, after having observed quietly and learned over the years, are the three C's, as I spoke about earlier: confidence, competence being sharpened every day, every minute, and character. Leadership without character, for me, is weak leadership. Leadership without competence, for me, is no leadership. Leadership without confidence, for me, is like non existent leadership. Because if you don't have the confidence, you will not be able to take those decisions and also to take risks. So, credible leadership is the blend of the three C's: confidence, competence, and character. And without character, for me, is again, as I'd like to reiterate, is weak leader or weak leadership. Next slide. So, how do you own your seat at the table? And what does it actually mean? If you remember in the beginning of the session, I said if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring your own chair. Bring your own chair. Your voice matters. Your ideas matter. You speak with confidence, but you speak something that is worthwhile. How do you know if something is worthwhile? Probably some may have this question. You will know something is worthwhile when you are well versed in your field, when you study. I still use the word study. It's not just about a leader, any professional for that matter is a student lifelong till they go to the grave. There has to be this constant study in your field, whether you're an engineer, a lawyer, a doctor, especially lawyers. We upgrade ourselves continuously throughout. Every day is a learning process. There is no one clear-cut formula for a professional's success. So you keep learning, you keep upgrading your skills, you keep updating yourself with information. And then you have this confidence because you can validate what you speak. Then you ask strategic questions. Questions that you know can elicit the right response that will help you to impact. You share your expertise. You share something that only you can do and not anyone else. You share your expertise. You make informed decisions. You speak with integrity. Next slide. Can we have the next slide, please? Varalakshmi. So, well, so then we move on to authentic leadership, the greatest competitive advantage. We can talk about that as Varalakshmi takes the time to come back with the slides. So, authenticity has become one of the defining characteristics of a good leader. Authentic leaders do not imitate others. I'm repeating that. Authentic leaders do not imitate others. They understand their value, they lead consistently, they communicate honestly, they admit their mistakes, they learn from their mistakes. When they speak powered by credibility. And this credibility builds trust. Trust creates influence. Influence transforms organizations. And it's not necessary to conform to traditional leadership styles. You may have your own style of being a leader. For me, I don't believe that there is a need to conform to a traditional leadership style or certain stereotypes. If you look around you, or even in my experience earlier, I have seen aggressive leadership. Who has said that leadership has to be aggressive? Or who has said that a leader has to be aggressive to get his work done? Not really. You can be confident, but a confident leader can have humility in him or her. Confidence is the key, and humility is power. Let's go to the previous slide. I've not yet finished that. Thank you. So, again, strength and compassion can coexist. Is it really oxymoronic? Is it? Strength and compassion. I feel they are partners. You can be strong. At the same time, you can be compassionate. Authority and empathy can coexist. Really? These are some of the principles that I really follow. No one is greater than the other. We are all equals. We learn from each other. We grow. We lead. Yet another thing is, you don't need to shrink to fit the room, but you expand the room through your leadership. I'm repeating this. You don't shrink to fit the room, but expand the room through your leadership, your ideas, your values, which you feel confident in and where you feel that it will impact. Next slide. Imposter syndrome. I've directly put on the contents of overcoming imposter syndrome. But what is this imposter syndrome? I'm not worth it. I'm not already. Someone else is better than me. Someone knows more. I don't belong here. These are some of the common thoughts that are categorized into this imposter syndrome. That's because we do not know our own worth. It is time. If you feel and you think you are a leader, one has to really rise above such thoughts and replace it with I can, I will learn, my perspective creates value, my experience matters, my voice deserves to be heard. But again, how do you really overcome? Is by sharpening your competence. By sharpening your competence, you gain confidence. And with competence and confidence, you present your ideas, you present your thoughts, you present those, you know, those precious ideas which can really help you win deals. Next slide. And this is my favorite all along throughout the years. I gave you the example of a mother. You don't call her a leader, but she leads. You don't call your father a leader every time, but he leads. Leadership is beyond titles. Of course, in our corporate world, all have titles. But sometimes I've observed this. There are people who have these ingredients of being a powerful leader, but they do not have any titles. But I call them leader because they impact. Leadership is just not about position, status, authority, but leadership is about influence, trust, service, vision, and impact. Sometime back in one of the conferences, I remember talking about trust. Trust is no longer just a mere invaluable asset. But I would say today, in the corporate world, trust, in quotes, trust is a strategic asset. I'll reiterate that. Trust is no longer just an invaluable asset, but it is a strategic asset. A leader certainly attracts trust, and that makes him or her a leader. It's a strategic asset a leader carries along with him or her. And in the corporate sector, for companies, trust is certainly a strategic asset. I'm talking about trust being an asset. Next slide. So again, people follow leaders they trust, not simply those with titles. A leader should be engaging. A leader is not someone who just knows it all. A leader is someone who engages with people, who seeks the opinion of others and takes the right decision. He's just not, or she's just not a bracketed know-it-all. Next slide. Building your leadership legacy. You invest in mentorship, sponsorship, networking, collaboration, platforms like these, lifelong learning. But remember, success is personal, and leadership is multiplying success through others. Leadership is all about people, managing people, handling people, leading people in the right direction. Next. So, for those who are future leaders, I'd like to give you some practical leadership tips or actions that you can really execute. Like probably tomorrow morning, today is a new day, and you've heard this, and probably you'll hear other speakers as well. You emulate them, those points, and then it's time for implementation. So, tomorrow morning, probably speak up at least in one of the meetings that you will be participating. Volunteer to at least one leadership opportunity. Mentor one emerging professional. Build one meaningful relationship. Say yes to visibility. Small actions become lasting influence. Next slide. So, what are the key takeaways? Leadership begins with courage, the courage to be different, the courage to stand out, confidence, authenticity, purpose, service oriented. And remember, your expertise earns your seat. Your confidence strengthens your voice. Your influence changes organizations. Your legacy changes lives. So, next slide. So, in my experience over the years, from the courtroom, I learned to advocate. I learned to research, to advocate, to come up with authentic solutions, to come up with something that would make a difference. The boardroom taught me to influence. The boardroom taught me to be stronger, not to keep mum, but to speak at the right time. Leadership taught me to empower others. A good leader creates several other leaders. He or she impacts the minds of those around him or her. And as a woman, I believe that women confidently own their seat at the table. They do more than advance their own careers. They create space for others, strengthen institutions, and shape a more inclusive future. So it's time for questions. If there are no questions, probably you can put it in the chat or ask me some other time. It's fine. They will share with you my email ID. I'm available on LinkedIn. Feel free to chat with me anytime.
Yeah. So that was a wonderful session, Dr. Henrietta.
Thank
So I
you.
hope, yeah. So I hope the audience will follow the same mantras like confidence, competence, and character. Yeah.
Yes.
And there are some couple of questions from audience, and
Okay.
yeah. So I will ask one of the question.
Okay.
So it is from uh, Alina. So, which of the three C's is the hardest to develop?
Competence. See, I'll tell you something. You know why? For me, I'll talk about myself. Competence is like a tool, it needs to be sharpened all the time. But character is always a part of you. But again, I would say that sometimes even character, I wouldn't say it's tough, but you need to make friends with it. You need to say to yourself, I have to make the right choices. I have to lead with integrity. When someone tests what I speak, it has to turn out 100% truth. When someone tests the veracity of your decisions, of your whatever statement you make, for example, when they test it, it has to turn out to be, it has to, emerge as the truth. Character is just a part of you. Character is something that is you, and you need to just be you, and probably, you know, improve yourself if someone feels that they do not have that in them. But competence is all about what you can deliver. You sharpen the tool of competence, you gain confidence, and you know, put it forth with integrity or with character. I think character is the power behind, or it's like the force which, you know, which pushes forth competence and confidence. This is how it has worked for me.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So there are some couple of questions as well. So we will be directly posting to your email. So please answer them, and please be in the backstage and enjoy our next sessions. And thanks for
Thank you.
participating again.
Pleasure.
Bye bye. Namaste.
Bye. Namaste.